Alright guys, I just bought this Cat number 12 road grader. It's been sitting for about 5 years and hasn't been started in at least that long. And unfortunately, due to sitting so long, the motor seized up. So this is a big gamble. In this video, I'll cover getting it home, trying to get it started, and if we're really lucky, putting it to work. Let's get right into the video and see how all this turns out. I also want to give a huge thanks to Mike. Mike is the guy that I bought this from, and he used his tools and his equipment to help me get this thing loaded and to get it prepared for transport. Mike owned this grader since 1994 and he used it around his farm, and I'm convinced that because he took such good care of it and like he kept it greased and did all the maintenance on it, that it's in as good a shape as it's in today. All right, today's project is to get this road grader home. This is a Cat number 12. So as you're about to see in a minute, the plan here is to get the blade chained up and the machine ready for transport. Since the blade was left down and the machine won't start, we have to lift the blade by hand and chain it to the mainframe so it'll go on the trailer. So, as you're about to see, we chained up to Mike's dozer and we're going to try to break the engine free. So the way that we'll do that is we'll put the road grader in gear, and then the dozer will pull the grader across the pasture, and when we have a little bit of speed, we'll pop the clutch on the grader, and hopefully when the wheels engage the motor, that force of the grader being pulled along will break the engine free, and at least we'll know that the engine's freed up. Yeah, buddy. So at this point, as you just saw, we got the motor freed up, which is awesome. And it's a huge relief. Now with that out of the way, I'm a lot more confident that we might be able to get this thing started. Now, while we were at Mike's, I really didn't get much footage of it because I was filming by myself. We were able to pull the grader around his hay field, and the plan was to, again, basically pop start the machine. We drug it around for probably 10 minutes. We even had a neighbor farmer come down and stand on the back of the grader and spray starting fluid in the intake, and we just couldn't get it to pop off. So we kind of ran out of time to be able to mess with that. So we have to get it ready to put on the trailer and get home, and we'll work on starting it once we get home. One of the things we need to do is get this blade angled so that it's less than 8 feet wide. So we can do this by just turning this by hand. All right, so this guy's got this is a D6B, probably late 60s. This thing's pretty cool. It's still got the steering clutches, the 4-speed transmission with a reverser, and the hand clutch. But it's got this manual angle blade instead of the straight blade like mine has. It's in really good condition. The undercarriage is good. It's got the segmented sprockets, so they're really easy to change. Things started right up. This is a 1949 Cat number 12 grader with the D318 in it and a pony motor to start. I don't know how good this is going to come out on camera, but the grader is unloaded, and that was pretty sketchy. So we finally got the grader loaded, and we headed home with it. The flatbed driver got there, and we started unloading. Now, by the time we had gotten home, it's dark, it's raining. The battery on my skid steer had been dying for several weeks now, so the battery wasn't recharging. So the lights on the skid steer weren't working. And then I had a headlamp on, and that thing died several minutes into unloading. So it's rainy, it's dark. I have a skid steer trying to unload this grader. The deck of the trailer is super slippery. Long story short, it was one of the sketchiest things I've ever done. The grader almost slid off the trailer sideways several times, and fortunately I was able to stop everything in time, go around with the skid steer, push the machine back on, and somehow my Case 60XT had enough oomph to basically, I drove into the side of the wheels and slid the grader back onto the trailer enough so that we could roll it down the beaver tail a little more. We finally got it unloaded. Fortunately, we got all 6 tires of this machine safely on the ground, no casualties. So let's throw some coolant in this thing, and we're going to try to pop start this. So I don't see anything where it's pouring out, but I guess time will tell on that. And see. So
a smoke ring of black, and I was like, oh, she's gonna start.
It's gonna go. That's awesome. This thing did it. This thing did it. It spun right at first. Old Greeny. Not bad. Well, as you saw, it started, and I really cannot express how excited I am to have this thing started. That was so cool to see this grader from 1949 fire up and run, and it runs great. It runs really, really well. So I'm really excited. I had my buddy from In and Outdoors help me. He ran Greenie. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description. Really awesome to see this thing running. I'm super excited about that. So, you know, the next thing we have to do now that we got it running is let's go put this thing to work. Well, I'm gonna kind of end this video here. We got the thing home and running, which is really a huge accomplishment, I think, considering that this thing sat for 5+ years and probably wasn't started in at least that time. In the next video, we're gonna cover trying to get the pony motor started. That's the reason we had to pull start this, because the pony motor wasn't working. The carb was just corroded and full of crap. It's a really common thing on the pony motors for the 318s. So once we can get that running, we can start this thing without pull starting it, which is ideal. And then really, it's just some little TLC stuff here and there. I mean, it needs a couple of tires when I can find those for a reasonable price. We'll go through and grease everything, and we'll put a seat in it. So be sure to keep an eye out for that video.
And that thing was spraying smoke, and I was like watching it, and like every 3 seconds it would poof a little cloud of black smoke, and I was like, ah!
It was just rolling over, and it was billowing black more and more, and then as soon as I pushed the clutch in, it like popped. So I wonder if the wheels were keeping the engine RPMs like limited so it wouldn't take off.
Oh, maybe.
But man, that's awesome. What do you think? Hey, what are your thoughts on all this? More? Yeah. You want to go for a ride in it? Come here. Can you get in the cab?
There's no way.
Can you get up there? Can you get up here? What are you that whimper for? You getting old and hurting? All right, well, it runs.